What's up, everybody? Welcome to the King Closers Formula. I am the King Closer, RJ Bates III. And today we are going to be talking about how to virtually wholesale from A to Z. All right. Today's goal is that we're going to give a complete overview of what virtual wholesaling is. We're not going to be stopping at any destinations. We're just going to be giving the roadmap of what it is. So this is a brief overview. We did this back about 7 months ago. I think it was early November, late October, somewhere around there. And it was a banger of a video. You guys loved it. It was doing great. Unfortunately, I shared my screen and I showed how to write a contract. And during that time of showing my screen, I put in fake information. I think the address was 123 Main Street, and I put the seller as John Doe. And YouTube said, you shared private information, and they deleted the video. And so we're going to have to do it again. But it's the second time I'm doing it, so it's only going to be bigger and better this time, all right? But I can't share my screen, guys. I can't do it. YouTube, they're cracking down on it, and they said, don't show your screen, don't show anything, even if it's fake John Doe's at 123 Main Street. So you're just going to have to stare at my beautiful face today and all of the wisdom about how to virtually wholesale. Now, here's my thing. Why should you want to know from me how to virtually wholesale? Well, we've been virtually wholesaling now for a decade. And in that decade, we've done deals in all 50 states. And we've done somewhere over 2,000 deals. I don't know the exact number, but it's over 2,000 deals in those 50 states in that decade of time. So I feel at this point in time, we have a pretty good grasp of what virtual wholesaling is. And we want to break it down and make it easy and simple for you guys so you can also go out and create your own reality with virtual wholesaling. Now, that being said, I plan on having a lot of you guys here, so I want to give a little bit of time for people to join in on the live. But I want to know where you guys are coming from, and are you currently virtual wholesaling, okay? Where are you coming from, and are you currently virtually wholesaling right now? We've got 15 different topics. That's what we've broken it down into, 15 different things that make up what virtual wholesaling are. We're going to go through all 15. And like I said, this is a roadmap, okay? We're not stopping at any destinations along the way. We're just going to say this is what it is so you have an understanding of what virtual wholesaling is and see if this is what you want to do. Now, back here, I've got a little hedgehog, okay? And the reason why I want to talk about the hedgehog is that's my friendly reminder that our hedgehog concept here is we are a nationwide virtual wholesaler, okay? And what a hedgehog concept is where as a business owner, in basically one sentence, you can narrow down and say, this is what our business does. And so for us, we're a nationwide virtual wholesaler. Anything that does not fit inside of that scope, the answer should be no. So what this does for us and how this makes it simple for us is it eliminates all of the shiny objects that exist inside of the real estate investing world. So it's easy for us to say no to a flip. It's easy for us to say no to a novation, buying a property sub to, and things like that. Now, if we want to have a separate entity that does those things and we want to create a landlord business or a house flipping business, that could be the hedgehog concept for that. But that is not our core focus here at Titanium Investments, okay? So let's see. We've got Georgia. Haven't started wholesaling yet. Hopefully today's video helps you get started. We got South Florida. Working on my first offer today. Congratulations, Jose. Love to see that. We got Mr. Jamie LeBlanc coming from South Texas. Nick Robbins from Florida. We got Mr. Robert Blaine. Yes, if you guys are watching right now, make sure you get those likes up. The likes help us. And Bro the Handyman, so this is going to be good. Appreciate you, bro. All right, so let's get into it. Number one, define virtual wholesaling and why is there money to be made in space. So virtual wholesale, what I mean by virtual, what makes this virtual is that you never leave your house, you never leave your office, you do everything virtually from your desk and on the phone, okay? So we're not going to go physically visit the properties. We're not going to go walk the properties ourselves. Okay, that's a form of wholesaling, but it's not virtual wholesaling. So every property that we contract, we never go see them. We never lay foot in those properties whatsoever. We never leave the office. Okay. So for me and for my team, we're always on the phone. We're closing the deal on the phone. We don't do any belly to belly appointments. Okay. Everything is done on the phone. And then the wholesaling side of it. What is wholesaling? Wholesaling is when you contract a property and then you are selling your equitable interest in that contract. You're not selling the property itself. So I talk to a seller. I contract the property for $100,000. I then turn around and I will either assign my rights to that buyer for a fee. So I say, hey, for $110,000, you can then have my equitable interest. They buy the property for $100,000 and I get the $10,000 difference. The other way that you could do this is called a double close, which is I contract the property for $100,000. That's my A to B contract. Okay. A being the seller, B being me. And then I write up a second contract, B to C, B being me again. I am now the seller. And then I sell the contract to C, my end buyer, for a fee of whatever it is, the difference, $10,000. And that costs you a little bit more money because normally you're going to have closing costs. Sometimes title company will make you take title insurance to it. And so the reason why you would do a double close instead of an assignment is because maybe you're making a larger fee. You don't want your buyer to know how much money you're making. Maybe the state you're in won't have a blind HUD where your seller knows how much money you're making. There's all kinds of different reasons, but essentially the majority of the time it's just because you're hiding how much money you make. Now we've pretty much moved away from double closes. Now some of these regulations that are coming down in different states might make that come back in more higher volume, but right now almost all of our deals are assignments only. Okay. So again, an assignment is you have a contract with the seller for a certain amount, and then you are selling your equitable interest to your end buyer for a fee. That is what wholesaling is in its simplest terms. And again, remember what makes this virtual is we're doing all of this from our office. We're never going to the property ourselves. Okay. Now we'll break down how we do that and how we make that feasible later on. All right. We've got some more people in here. We got Las Vegas, Fresno. Funny enough, you guys comment side by side. We literally just went to Fresno, California, spoke at an event in Fresno, got on a plane and went to Vegas, and then spoke at an event in Vegas and then came home. That's funny. Kip, miss all your lives and talking love. Tampa in the house. What's up, Kip? Appreciate the tip, man. Kip with the tip. Always coming in. Appreciate that. What's up, John? Where are you coming from, John? We got Portland. We got Dallas. Love it. We're coming from all over the country. I'm surprised to see we haven't gotten someone from international. We've had Switzerland. We've had Egypt, Israel, Colombia, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, all kinds of different places. So it's always cool to see where you guys are coming from. I appreciate the engagement there. So, all right. We got Charlotte in the house. I was just in Charlotte last week. Beautiful city. Charlotte is absolutely gorgeous. That was the first time I'd ever been there. It was awesome. All right. So we understand what virtual wholesaling is now, right? Do we all understand that? Yes? Give me a thumbs up if we understand what virtual wholesaling is, okay? Do you need an entity to do virtual wholesaling? The answer is no, you don't need an entity, okay? You could absolutely contract a property in your personal name and assign your rights to an end buyer and receive your wire or your check directly to your personal name. And you could do that forever. I mean, I just interviewed Nick Perry, who's done deals in all 50 states. He's done, I think he said like 1,700 deals or something like that in his career. His first 60 deals he did in his personal name before he created an LLC. Now, I will say there is a benefit to creating an entity and having that protection there. So if for whatever reason you were to get sued or there was some sort of liability that comes back on you, you're protected and they can't come after your personal assets. That's the protection that an LLC gives you, as long as you abide by the laws and the rules and they can't pierce that corporate veil. But you don't need an entity to virtually wholesale, okay? That is not a necessity, but it is a recommendation. Like, get there as quickly as possible. What I'll say about that is also there's a certain level of financial commitment that you're making to yourself, and it's almost kind of a mental commitment that you're saying, hey, I'm going to take this serious. I'm going to be a business. I'm creating an entity to get this started, okay? I've never gone into something and said, I'm not going to spend a couple $100 to create an entity. I'm going to see if this pans out and then do it. Okay. Now, if you don't have the couple $100 to create the entity, you're probably going to run into some more issues when it comes to virtual wholesaling, because it does require operating capital. Okay. I don't think this is something I don't preach that, hey, this is the free way to do real estate investing. It's the cheap way. No, it requires capital. And it's going to require money to do lead generation and buy systems and stuff like that. But if you don't have the capital to get an entity, you don't have to invest that to get started. Okay. Number 3 is this is a topic that we are going to talk about repeatedly throughout this, is what is a motivated seller? Okay. Because the first thing that we need to do is we need to locate a motivated seller that's willing to sell their property for a discount, okay? But if you're brand new to this, you're like, well, what does that mean? Because isn't every seller motivated to sell their property? Of course. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're motivated to sell it for a discount, or that the property needs to be sold for a discount, okay? So let's break down, what does it mean to be a motivated seller? Typically, there are 2 core fundamental reasons why a seller is motivated to sell their property for a discount. One is the one that people mainly think about, and it's the one that is easy for us to kind of figure out. There's a financial distress factor that is kind of saying, hey, I need to quickly and efficiently sell this property. And so I'm willing to sell it on a discount because financially I need to sell this property. Okay. That's like the low hanging fruit. That means like there are pre-foreclosure, there's tax delinquency, there's liens, there's a bankruptcy, there's a judgment, there's something like that. And then on the side of things that we can't really track, right? Lost a job, health issues, you inherited a property that has a mortgage on it, and it's like, well, I inherited another property, I can't afford it, right? Maybe you just flat out can't afford that property. These are the financial distress factors that would lead to someone saying, I just want this gone out of my life so I can move on and not have to worry about the stress of owning that property anymore. Okay. The other thing is physical distress. Now, this is where a lot of times it's easier to get the property purchased for a discount because of the physical nature of the property. This is where the property has not been remodeled in decades, right? Or maybe there's a structural issue or a system issue where, ACs don't work, roofs don't work anymore, foundation problems, things like that. Things of the nature where maybe it was a tenant occupied property and the tenants, devastated and destroyed the property while living in it prior to moving out. We've even, animals are a huge factor when it comes to properties being physically distressed. So much so that Cassie and I went on TV flipping a house that was full of cat pee and poop. The cats just destroyed the property. I just did a video a couple of weeks ago about how vultures overtook a property, and that was physically distressing to the property. The vulture poop was acidic and destroyed ledges and decks and all kinds of things that we had already done. We've had properties overtaken by beehives, where a beehive was created inside of a wall and it basically just destroyed the inside of our whole entryway, right? There's so many different things that can cause physical distress of a property. So those are the two things that really lead to a seller becoming motivated. Now, as we move on and we get into talking to sellers, the reason why the motivation is so important is because that's where you're really going to want to understand, why is this seller wanting to sell this property for a discount? And you want to identify that as quickly as possible to see if you're talking to the right person. Because quite frankly, if they're not motivated, then we're probably not their best solution. That's what realtors exist for. Realtors are there to help sellers that, are not motivated, that need to maximize their amount of equity that they have in their property and to sell it for full market value. That's what realtors are really good at. What are we really good at as a wholesaler? Identifying people's pain and motivation and solving that problem by buying their real estate. That is the problem that we solved there. Okay. Got a cool little comment here. Ram City Fishing. RJ the man totally changed my delivery and finding motivation for selling. Getting that price out first really puts us back in the driver's seat. Awesome. The CEO. Hey, RJ, had a meeting with Gene and Yuri from Speed to Lead. Thanks, you brother. Just got 3 deals in 2 days. I'm officially paper lead now. Speed to Lead, baby. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Good guys over there at Speed Lead. So we know what virtual wholesaling is now. We know that we don't need an entity. It is recommended to get an entity as quickly as possible. We know what a motivated seller is. Let's talk about the next thing. The thing that you absolutely have to do. Number 4, we have to have this lead generation. Okay. So lead generation is the marketing that you are going to do as a wholesaler to turn the lights on to those motivated sellers and let them know that you exist. Okay. Contrary to like what we believe, because we live in this world, the vast majority of people don't know like what a wholesaler is, or that how to contact the real estate investor. When they go to sell their house, they're thinking about contacting a realtor, going to a place like Zillow, maybe listing it themselves on Zillow or for sale by owner, something along those lines. So they don't know that we exist. So we have to be great at marketing and let them know, hey, we will buy your house. We will be a solution for you. Okay, so how do we do that? There's a lot of different ways, but I don't want to stop at any destination, so I'm going to explain what we do and then some other things that exist out there. Okay, one of the things that you can do is pull list on a place like Batch Leads, PropStream, okay, List Source, places like that. And you can pull it from motivating factors like pre-foreclosure, tax delinquency, vacancies, bankruptcies, expired listings, things like that. And you can skip trace it. But skip tracing, all that means is you're saying, hey, this is the owner of this address, and I want their phone number, and it'll give it to you. And then you can cold call them. Okay. The other thing that you can do with that data is pull that list, and you can direct mail. You can send them a postcard. You can send them a letter saying, hey, contact me. I buy houses, right? I'm sure you've seen this before. All right. Now, the thing that I love that exists today is buying inbound leads. Okay. So you could do this a couple of different ways. You can run your own campaigns on social media, either through Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads, or just simple Google pay-per-click, where they go in and they search, need to sell my house fast, Fort Worth, Texas. And then your ad's going to pop up. They click on that. It takes you to a landing page. Says, hey, we buy houses. You can get that website. You can buy a Carrot website, right? I think I got a link down below. It's like $99 a month or something. And it comes like nice and pretty, and you can put your logo on there, and they fill out the form, and then it comes to you, and then you call them and you have the conversation about buying their house. Okay. That's another way to do it. Now, there are companies out there today like Speed to Lead, like LeadZolo, like Property Leads, that will generate these leads for you and then sell the lead. That's called pay-per-lead, PPL. Okay, so instead of running your own campaigns and trying to become a PPC campaign manager and understand how to do all of that, You could just simply swipe your card and say, hey, for however much you charge, they all have different amounts, right? Property leads is like $60, $55 at times for nationwide leads anywhere in the United States. So they fill out the form, you swipe your card, $55, boom, it comes to you, and then you call them. You get the lead like 10 seconds after they fill out the form, and then you talk to the seller and you see if it's going to be a good deal for you, okay? Back in the day, we used to do a lot of SMS texting. I just talked to someone inside of Titanium University today. He's still doing SMS marketing, and he's crushing it with it, right? It still exists. I think with the regulations that have come down on texting from the carriers, it's becoming harder and harder, okay? So I don't recommend SMS marketing as much as I used to. What are some other ways? There's FSBO strategies where you could look up and see, for sale by owners that existed, and you could call them. You could do bandit signs where you get the yard signs and write, we buy houses, cash, put your phone number and go stick them, in the medians all across the place. These are the bootstrap ways to do it. And then the super bootstrap way is called driving for dollars, where you drive around, find those physically distressed properties, and then write the address down, skip trace it, and call them, or go knock on the door, right? These are all the ways that you can do marketing to turn the lights on and let people know that you can be a solution. You have to have this. Without the leads, you can't really do anything else. So this is kind of like the foundation for your virtual wholesaling businesses, is you have to have some sort of solid lead generation going on. Otherwise, you don't have anybody to talk to. Now, assuming you pick one of those, and you could go watch all of my videos and see the different forms of lead generation that I'm doing. Next week, I'm going to do an entire week of just acquisitions, going through all the different lead generation that I do, and I'm going to do it live. And how am I going to do it live? Well, number 5 is acquisitions / the closer's formula, okay? So you generate the lead. The motivated seller comes to you and says, I want to sell my house. Now you've got to acquire the deal. This is where the whole king closer comes from, the wrestling belts, everything that comes from my ability to talk to sellers and solve their problem by buying their real estate, okay? You've got to get great at being able to have human-to-human interaction on the phone to be able to buy their property. So I did a whole video last week for like an hour and a half about the closer's formula, what it is. Today, I'm going to break that down in as simplest forms as possible, okay? I recommend, if you didn't watch last week's live, go watch it. It's my 5 simple steps to the closer's formula 2.0. Go watch it, okay? But here's the steps. You call the seller. Hey, Mr. Seller, this is RJ Bates. Are you still looking to sell 123 Main Street? Yes. That's step 1. Verify that they want to sell. Step 2. Awesome. How much are you looking to get for that? 2. The asking price. How much do you want for it? They're the seller. We're the buyer. Ask them how much they want. Everywhere else in the world, when you go to buy something, there's a price tag associated with it. Same thing here. Ask them how much they want for the property. I want $100,000. Awesome. Step 3, open-ended questions. Tell me a little bit about what you got going on. That opens it up to let them talk about the most important thing to them, okay? You didn't ask about the condition of the property. You didn't ask about their timeline. You didn't ask about their occupancy. You just said, tell me a little bit about what you got going on. This allows them to just open up and tell you their whole story, okay? From there, you're going to continue to ask open-ended questions while you're doing step 4, which is comping and underwriting and analyzing the deal. You're going to comp. You're going to see what a property's selling for in the area. You're going to get a good idea of what the condition of the property is. You're going to put an after repair value. You're going to plug this in the profit calculator. You're going to see your holding and closing costs. You're going to see what the rehab is. You're going to put in the profit. Then you're going to put in your wholesale fee, and that's where you need to buy the property, okay? Sounds super complicated, right? Super complicated. Well, that's why we put it in a profit calculator. So realistically, the only thing that you have to figure out is What could this property be worth when it's completely fixed up? How much work does it need to be worth that? And then boom, you've got your number. You've got your where the end buyers buy number. Okay. And then the fifth step is you close the deal. You get them to sign the contract and agree to a price, and you close it. That is the closer's formula in its simplest of terms. Now, there's a lot of things that come along with that. The embrace no, become a machine, avoid the dumbassery, the art of how to shut up, the kill shot, all the different things that we go through. Go watch that video. It'll explain it to you. Again, like I said, I don't want to stop at any destinations, but step 5, acquisitions and closers formula. This is you've spent the money, the time, the resources, the energy to generate that lead. You have to treat that lead like gold. Okay? And that lead comes in, you get on the phone, and you solve that seller's problem. You find out, you have a conversation with them to find out, why are you a motivated seller? What do you need to happen? What do you need to accomplish on this phone call to get rid of your real estate? They are reaching out to you. Treat it like gold and close the deal and take care of your sellers. Okay? The next step, number 6, comping and the web, where end buyers buy. Okay, so I briefly went through that inside the closure formula. So this is step 4. Okay, so let's break this down. Comping. When you are on the phone with the seller, they give you the address. You are going to copy and paste that address. And the first thing you're going to do with it is you are going to drop it into Google Street View. And you are going to look around the neighborhood. And you are going to say, if I were to live in this house, is there any reason why I would not want to own this house? For example, it could be across the street from a gas station. It could be on a busy road. It could have commercial. It could have an airport. It could have a jail. Whatever it is there something that would diminish the value of this property where it currently sits today as far as location? That's what you're looking for. As soon as you've identified, okay, there's nothing wrong with this property, you're going to take that address and you're going to drop it into your comping software, okay? You need a comping software, okay? We do not comp on Zillow. We don't comp on Redfin. I'm not saying you can't do that. You can, but you need to invest in your business. This is like a system that you're going to have. Just like you have to invest money into lead generation, you need to invest into a comping software, okay? The comping softwares that we use are PropStream, Privy, Batch Leads, okay? If you don't have one of those, you need to get it today. There's links for all 3 down below. I will say the one that we probably use the most right now is PropStream. Now, I love using both Privy and PropStream simultaneous to compare the differences. They're $99 a month. I'm fine with spending $200 a month to have access to more data and more comps available. Just yesterday, I was comping a property as an example, and plugging into both systems was showing me additional addresses for multiple properties. So I love using both Privy and PropStream when I'm comping a property, okay? Now, when you're comping it, now you've dropped it in your comping software, okay? The first layer of comping is that you want to understand what neighborhood is this in, okay? Identify on some sort of price point. So like for me, I want to look at it, and I've asked the seller, how much do you want for this property? They say $100,000. What I want to see is this a $0 to $50,000 neighborhood, a $50,000 to $100,000 neighborhood, $100,000 to $200,000 neighborhood, $200,000 to $300,000, $300,000 to $400,000? Where are the vast majority of properties selling in this neighborhood? That's the first layer that I'm trying to identify. Because to be honest with you, if I'm on the phone with a seller and they say they want $100,000, I really hope that this is a $200,000 neighborhood. Otherwise, the price is probably going to be pretty significantly off from us buying this as a wholesale deal. So when I'm on the phone with them, I'm just trying to identify what kind of neighborhood am I talking to right now? Okay. Now let's just say for this sake, this is a $200,000 neighborhood. All right, perfect. Now I am going to really dive into the comps and try to put a rough after repair value number. So the after repair value, that is how much the house would be worth once it is fixed up. Understand the after repair value number is based around how much repairs do you actually put into it. So just because the maximum value of the neighborhood is $200,000 doesn't mean that needs to be your ARV, because you might put less work into it and the property is worth a little bit less. All right. Now, for this sake, what we're going to talk about is we're looking around, and what we're trying to find is what is our square footage, what is our bedroom count, what is our bathroom count, what is the year built, and what is the lot size. Okay. Those are the 5 things that I pay attention to right off of the bat. Okay. I start with square footage. So I have the property pulled up in PropStream, and what I want to see right off the bat is my house is 1,500 square feet. Do I have other properties right here that are comps that are 1,500 square foot? Okay, I have 5. Mine is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Are those 1,500 square foot, 3 beds, 2 baths as well? Okay, what's my year built? 1977. Do I have 1970s builds? I do. Then what's my lot square footage? 10,000 square feet. Do I have similar square footage there? These do not have to be exact, okay? If your lot is 10,000 and the other lot's 11,000, that's okay. If your house was built in 1977 and there's a house built in 1980, those are comparable, okay? So again, I always like to compare the pin and the marker, okay? The marker calls, or the pin calls me and says, I want to sell. And I pull up my comps. If this is my comp, these are not the same. Okay. I want to find another one of these exactly like this. Same size, same bedroom, same bath, same year built, same lot size. Okay. That's what I'm trying to identify. As soon as I've identified that, I look at the price in which they sold. And I'm trying to look at the lowest first. Okay. So I go to the lowest. And when I go to the lowest, I want to find out, why did this sell for so low? Is it a tear down? Is it horribly distressed? Or is it in pretty decent shape? The next thing I do is I go to the highest one and I compare the difference. Okay, the highest sold one, is this completely remodeled? Is everything brand new? Is it beautiful? Is that why it sold for so much? This is what I'm trying to identify. Okay, what is the difference? And I go through the comps and I look at the pictures. This is why I love PropStream and Privy, because they have those pictures right there on the system. If they don't, then I'll have to copy and paste that address and go to like a Zillow or a Redfin. I will tell you, more often than not, I like to go to Redfin or Realtor.com because they keep those pictures longer than Zillow does. Okay, little secret right there. Okay, as soon as I've identified my after repair value, comping is done. That is what comping is, okay? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I've seen people say they really struggle with comping. This is like a hang up that people have, and it's like a barrier to entry to virtual wholesaling. They say, I really struggle with comping. Well, then I ask them, okay, why do you say you struggle with comping? Well, because I've had terminations. I've had to let deals go because it wasn't a deal and I ran the numbers incorrectly. And so then I asked them, was your after repair value off? No, my rehab numbers were off. Okay, you don't suck at comping, you suck at underwriting. So the next thing that you do after comping is underwrite the property. By underwriting, what we're going to do is we're going to take that after repair value, we're going to plug it into our profit calculator, which automatically calculates holding costs and closing costs. Okay, so we already know those. So what's the only other number that we need to come up with? Repairs. How do we, sitting at our desk here in Fort Worth, Texas, come up with a repair value in Phoenix, Arizona? Asking good questions. Okay? Sit there and talk to the seller and understand what is the condition of the property. What is the seller telling you about the property? Okay. Now, what I don't want you to do is say, when was the last time the roof was replaced? The reason why I don't want you to ask that question is because if they give you an answer, does it really give you the answer? When was the last time the roof was replaced? 2 years ago. Okay. So the vast majority of people would think 2 years ago, roof's still in good condition. Not if it's in Dallas, Texas. We've had like 12 hailstorms in the past 2 months, bringing down baseballs on side of the roof. If this hits your roof, you're getting a new roof. Okay. So when we ask questions like, how old is the roof? It doesn't really give us the answer that we need. So we need to ask these questions like, if you were to fix up the property, what do you know needs to be done to the property? If you could fix up the property and sell it for maximum value, what do you know needs to be done? The sellers then will open up and they'll start thinking about everything that needs to be done to the property. Okay? This is how you're going to find out more about the property instead of you going down through a checklist and asking vague questions. Because what will happen is if you say, what do you know needs to be done on the property? And they're going to say, well, a hailstorm just happened last week. And we've had the insurance adjuster come out. And, you know, they're saying the roof needs to be replaced. If you ask them how old the roof is, they might not divulge that. Some people they're tricky. There's sly ones out there. They'll say, well, you didn't ask me if it needed to be replaced. Just ask how old it is. Okay? What we're doing here is we are trying to determine, where would an end buyer buy this property? That's what we're doing when we're underwriting, okay? So what I mean by that is we're going to say the property could be worth $200,000 fixed up. It's going to calculate your holding and closing costs. And then you're going to say, all right, it's a 1,500 square foot and it needs cosmetic updates. Based off of that, I'm going to say it needs $40,000 in work, okay? So from there, we probably need to be somewhere in the $85,000 to $90,000 range. That's what my profit calculator is going to tell me. That's going to include my wholesale fee, their profit, their holding costs, their closing costs, the rehab, and then what they can sell it for, the $200,000. All right. That is the underwriting side of things. This is the part that people really struggle with. They consider that comping. Okay. So to reiterate, we generate the lead. The lead comes in, we call them. We go through the closer's formula. As we're going through the closer formula, the actions that we are taking on the back side of that is we are comping the property. Okay. What kind of neighborhood am I in? I'm in a $200,000 neighborhood. Awesome. Now, get a firm after repair value on that based off of finding properties that are similar size, similar bed and bath count, similar year built, similar lot size. Okay. Now that you know that, put that number in and underwrite the deal. Find out, where does your end buyer buy? You do that by asking great questions, understanding the condition of the property and where it sits today. Now, the other thing that you need to do while you're on the phone is, when you're virtually wholesaling, there is going to be a small percentage of deals that are not going to work for cash. You're not going to be able to buy cash. And as you get more experience, you're going to want to start doing creative finance deals. Okay. So in a massively shortcutted version of exit strategy first, okay, I'm going to try to explain this as quickly and efficiently as possible, but I want to preface this by saying creative finance, all of them, are a sophisticated way of purchasing a property that requires understanding of the situations, understanding how to facilitate the deal, do the paperwork, and there is a risk factor that comes along with this, okay? So I do not recommend this when you're first getting started. I recommend you hire someone, work with someone that has done many, many creative finance deals before you just go off and try to bootleg one yourself, okay? The two triggers that we have for creative finance deals. Let's talk about sub 2. Everyone knows sub 2. Pace has made it famous, okay? Low to no equity, or extreme financial distress. Okay. I know there's other reasons why you would buy a property sub 2, but I try to simplify things for my team as much as possible. And this is how we've done it. Okay. So you're on the phone with a seller, and the seller says, I just bought the property 3 months ago, and it's an FHA loan or it's a VA loan. And I put 2% down, 3% down, hardly anything. There's no equity whatsoever. But I got to sell it. I'm getting divorced right now. I got to sell this property. Okay. Can't do cash. Okay. My exit strategy determines my acquisition strategy. So exit strategy number 1, flip. There's no equity. Can't be a flip. Exit strategy number 2, keep it as a buy and hold. It's a rental, cash flow. Okay. All right. Well, this could cash flow. So what's the first thing I'm going to look up? What's the rent rate? Okay. Rent rate, $2,800 a month. What am I going to ask the seller? What is your PITI? Your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Okay. They tell me it's $1,800. That's $1,000 a month difference. An end buyer might be interested in that. Okay. So now, because the exit strategy is a rental, it determined my acquisition strategy. Always cash first. Can't do cash. So the next strategy is I buy the property subject to the existing mortgage, because I'm paying now $1,800 a month and I can rent it for $2,800. That is how we would do a sub 2. That is an actual example of a sub 2 deal that we've done in Alaska. Okay, those exact numbers, that exact scenario. All right. Now, let's say you're on the phone with a seller and they say, I want $100,000 for my property. And you look it up and you see $100,000 is like full market value. And you're like, well, how'd you come up with $100,000? Well, it's been a rental property. I'm tired of being a landlord. I like the cash flow, but I'm just tired of dealing with the tenants. Okay, so you like the cash flow. Do you own it free and clear? I do own it free and clear. Boom, trigger. The seller owns the property free and clear. This means for my team, they are open to making a seller finance offer where the seller finances the property for us to purchase or our end buyer to purchase. Okay. So in this scenario, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'd be willing to pay you $100,000 if I can get it on my terms and I can make this still cash flow. So at that point in time, you can play around with it. How much down payment, what interest, how much you pay in a month. You find out what the rent rate is, and you can reverse engineer those numbers to make it work where it cash flows for your end buyer or yourself. And then you buy it subject to the existing mortgage. But again, the exit strategy determines your acquisition strategy. So in this case, doesn't work as a flip because he wants it for full market value. Boom. Second, rental. Yep, I could do that. The third thing that you could do is you could sell or finance it. That could also be your exit strategy. So he wants $100,000. Maybe he's wanting to do that at 0% interest. Maybe you could turn around and sell it at $100,000 for 10% interest and make that difference every single month. Regardless, the exit strategy determines your acquisition strategy. Okay? Now, the eighth thing that we need to worry about, and this is where my video got deleted from 7 months ago, the contract. Okay? Now, we have a simple 2-page contract that we use across the country. Okay? You can get that down below the link, Titanium Profits. It's Cassie's comping and underwriting course, as well as you get a copy of our contract on it. Okay. So if you want that, that's how you get that contract. The contract's super easy to fill out. It's like 7 or 8 fill in the blanks: seller, buyer, address, legal description, price, title company, what state you're doing the deal in, and what the closing date is. Okay. It's like super easy to fill out. You're going to fill that out, put it in an e-signature software, DocuSign, Dropbox Sign, PandaDoc, Dotloop, whichever one you want to use. We use Dropbox Sign, okay? You send it to the seller via email, and you get them to sign it. Now, if you're on the phone with them, if they are available to read that contract with you on the phone, you absolutely do that, okay? You want to walk them through the contract and make sure you can answer any questions that they have about the contract right then and there. The moment that they sign the contract, you move on to step 9. You open escrow with title, whether that's a title company or it's a closing attorney. Different states have different rules, okay? You want to know that? We have Titanium Markets down below. It's a free PDF that you can download. It gives you how many deals we've done in every single different state. It gives you a title company. We're always amending it. I know we've got some feedback. Some title companies have changed and different things like that. We're always editing it as we move along, okay? And then it'll also tell you about if it's a title or an attorney state, okay? But once you get that signed contract, you're going to open up escrow with the title company or the closing attorney. They're going to pull what's called a title commitment on the property, and this is where you're going to find out if there's any liens on the property, mortgages, judgments, encumbrances, anything that could hinder this deal from closing, okay? And anything that needs to be paid off from the closing proceeds, okay? It's also going to verify that the person that you're talking to is the actual seller that can sell you the property, okay? So you always go through title. You're always going to want to get title insurance. I understand that you can do quick claim deeds and other stuff like that. We don't mess around with that around here, so I'm not going to teach that today, okay? So you open title, and then when you open title, you make your earnest money deposit, okay? Now, I understand different states do not require an earnest money deposit, but we keep it simple, okay? Our earnest money deposit is $10 per contract across the country. And I know some people are like, oh, we scorched earth with wholesalers like you, RJ. We burn you up. We come in, we put $5,000 non-refundable down. That's great. Okay. You would make a great in buyer for me because I make my in buyers put down $5,000 non-refundable earnest money. Okay. This earnest money is our consideration, our financial consideration to making this a legal binding contract, and is our good faith payment down. Now, it is refundable per our contract through the terms, okay? There are times where you can amend the contract, make it where it's non-refundable, but in our contract, that is refundable if we decide to terminate, even though it's only $10, because, listen, there's sellers out there that will read it, make you amend it to $1,000, $100, okay? Personally, for me, earnest money deposits are one of my least favorite topics in all of real estate. I hate it so much. I think it's a silly thing. It's such a silly argument. When a seller terminates a contract on me after a couple of weeks, I don't care if I'm getting $1,000 or $2,000. It's a kick in the nuts. I wanted to sell my property. I didn't want your earnest money deposit. And I don't like the topic in general, but that's when we make that earnest money deposit, is right after we send the signed contract and we open up title. Okay. Now we have a signed contract from a motivated seller. Now we've got to move on to the next step, which is we've got to find our end buyer and assign our rights to this contract. So what's the first thing we've got to do? We've got to do recon on the property. We have to put together our marketing package for our end buyers so we can turn the lights on for them and show them why they want to be the end buyer for this property, okay? So how are we going to do this? Because let's use the example again. I'm here in Fort Worth, Texas. I never go see the property. I'm buying a property in Phoenix, Arizona. How am I going to do that? One, the easiest solution to this is you ask the seller if they will send you pictures of the property. Okay, now we have a checklist that we will actually send the seller. And we will say, okay, we need, essentially, this is what it is. We need a picture of every exterior wall. We need a picture of every interior wall. Walk through the rooms. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. This way, it lets us know what's going on with the property. Okay. They don't have to be professional photos. Okay. Nowadays, our cameras are better than most cameras out there. Okay. Or our phones have cameras that are better than most cameras that you can buy. All right. So those are great. We ask sellers. If the seller cannot do it, the next step is you go to your best known buyers in the area and you essentially give them like first right of refusal to go out and walk the property. And if they want it, they can have it. If they don't want it, at least give me pictures back. Okay. The next thing that you can do is you can hire a company like Notable Notaries. Okay. Notable Notaries will go out. They'll get contracts signed for you. They'll get things notarized for you. They'll also go out and they'll take pictures for you. Okay. That's a great solution. The other solution is you can hire a handyman. Handymen love to do this, and they're a hell of a lot cheaper than photographers. Hey, Mr. Handyman, will you go out to this property? The other thing, the reason why I love handymen and too is because you'll say, hey, can you find the things that are like wrong with the property, like things that would need to be fixed if we were to try to, fix this property up? And they'll take those pictures for you. Whereas a photographer normally wants to like avoid the ugly stuff. But as a wholesaler, we need to know the ugly stuff. We want to show that to our end buyers, right? So we get the pictures back, and now we put together our marketing package for our end buyers, okay? So we're going to put all of our pictures together. We're going to write up a description as to why this is a good property for them to purchase as a flip or a rental, break down all the numbers for them. And then we're going to move into the next step of virtual wholesaling, which is dispositions. Okay, so dispositions is where you are going to do marketing of your equitable interest in this contract to your end buyers to then assign your rights to that contract to them. Okay, so you're basically going to be saying, hey, for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, whatever it is your assignment fee is, you can have my equitable interest in this property, and here's what's going on with this property. Here's the pictures. Here's all of your description, everything. Okay. Dispositions, I'm going to be doing a webinar in 2 days with Investor Lift about dispositions. Dispositions gets forgotten about. And with the amount of technology that we have nowadays, acquisitions has gotten so easy. Your ability to comp and underwrite across the country has gotten so easy that dispositions is now where it's at. Like if you can dispo properties and you know how to talk to buyers and you know how to build relationships with them, you can do it anywhere in the country. This is the key to virtual wholesaling in 2024. Now, there's tools out there like Investor Lift. Speed Lead has a new tool out called Deal Speed. Your ability to do marketing to your end buyers and have that conversation. Now, Cassie has outlined the Dispo formula. Okay, you can go back, watch that live. It's like the 5 steps to selling a property or dispoing your property or something like that on my YouTube channel from like a month or so ago. But we've got the full Dispo formula down now where this is how you have the conversation. Just like we have a formula for how to talk to a motivated seller, you need to have a formula on how to talk to your end buyers. Now, I'm going to be doing that in 2 days. So I asked all, it looks like there's 75 of you guys watching right now. I'd love for you guys to join me on Thursday. It's at 4 p.m. Nick, can we drop the link in the chat for the Dispo Day to join that webinar? All right. So once you've identified your buyer and say, okay, we've got it under contract for $100,000. I'm selling it for $110,000. So I'm trying to make a $10,000 assignment fee. They say, I'll take it. You have to have your assignment of contract. Okay. So this is a separate form from your contract. And what it is saying is you are assigning to that end buyer for this fee, your equitable interest in that property. And then once that is signed, you send that off to the title company, and then they are required to make whatever earnest money deposit that you put on that assignment of contract. For us, unless it's a super low-end property or super high-end property, it's almost always $5,000 non-refundable earnest money, okay? Every now and then, like, we're selling a property for like $20,000. I'm not going to make you put, 25% of the purchase price down. We'll just do $1,000 or $2,000 or something like that. Again, I hate earnest money, so I think it's stupid. But it still holds that buyer like accountable and responsible to taking to closing the deal, right? To doing the right thing and taking that specific performance that is needed. Pause. I did pretty good. 55 minutes without taking a break there. Woo! I'm going to be hoarse after this live. All right. The next thing that you do after you sign that contract is you're going to have to do transaction coordination. Now, transaction coordination really starts the moment that you get the signed contract from the seller. Okay. That's sending it off to title company, making sure earnest money is deposited, making sure you get the title commitment back, making sure anything that shows up on the title commitment gets cleared prior to closing, right? So the title company is not going to like make sure that title gets cleared. Like, you're going to have to take actions, right? There's going to be times where you're going to have to be this one that's calling the seller, getting them to get maybe an affidavit and airship or something like that. The title company will tell you what is needed, but there's going to be times where like you're going to have to really spearhead that. If you think you're just going to send this deal off, the title company is just going to take care of it and they're going to get it closed, you're going to be really upset when you find out like they have a lot of deals. Like their job is not to only make sure your deal gets closed. You have to make sure that you are prioritizing your deal over everybody else's. So it requires a lot of action on that. Okay. Now, one of the best ways to do this, and I recommend this for everyone, don't be a transaction coordinator in your business. There are transaction coordinators that do this for a living, and they are experts. Outsource this, delegate this. Okay. For us, we use Easy REI Closings. You find out about them down below, titaniumtc.com. They're godsends. They take care of it. Okay. They're going to make sure that your deal is handled with care because that is their job. That is how they get paid, is making sure that your deal gets closed. So just outsource that, delegate that. And then you can learn from that. Learn as they're taking care of these different title issues that come up. And they keep you really up to speed with their communication as to how the deal is getting closed. And then the last thing, the best thing, is the closing. Okay. If it's an assignment, nothing happens. You just send off your distribute, like, hey, here's my wire instructions. Send me a check. We get everything wired at this point, but back in the day, I loved getting checks, man. Every single time I got one, I was like, I cannot believe that I just got paid $20,000 for what I just did. Closing is super simple. You need to make sure that your buyer and your seller get scheduled. Make sure that the title company is good. Make sure they have your wiring instructions. Make sure they understand how to get you your money. Make sure you communicate with them throughout the day, like, hey, buyer show up, seller show up. And once that is done, get your money, and it's over. Once it's over, pick up that phone, congratulate that seller, and say, hey, congratulations, you got rid of that deal. It was beautiful working with you. You want to shoot me a video and give me a testimonial, right? Take care of your sellers. It's awesome. That's virtual wholesaling from A to Z. We just do that over and over and over again. I'll be honest with you. We've got it to this point where the vast majority of things that I just told you throughout this process, somebody else is doing. Okay? Do I create an entity? No, I don't. Do I generate leads? No. I buy those from other people. Speed to Lead, Leadzolo, Property Lead. Somebody else is generating the leads. Acquiring the deals, we do that internally. I've got a team that sits right there and they acquire deals and they do the closers formula all day, every day. Okay? They comp, they underwrite. Okay? They get the contract signed. We send it off to the title company. We're not a title company. The title company takes care of that. Okay? Recon. We place the phone calls to get the recon done, but we don't do the recon. Someone else does the recon for us. Dispo, we've got the Dispo systems. We have to take the actions of Dispo. We send the assignment of contract. Someone else does TC. Someone else does the closing. So the vast majority of what we are doing when I talk about being a virtual wholesaler gets narrowed down to acquisitions and dispositions. Because you can pretty much outsource everything else to someone else. So the core of what you have to have is you have to have leads, and then you got to get great at closing them, and you got to get great at assigning them. And then you outsource the TC. That's virtual wholesaling in a nutshell. Your ability to pick the phone up and have a conversation with another human being about why you could buy their house, and then to your end buyer, why they should be that end buyer for that property. If you can do that, you can create your own reality with virtual wholesaling. What questions you guys got? I'm going to get that link for you. No questions? I literally just broke it down that well that you guys don't have one question. This is shocking. I mean, I know I'm good, but I'm not that. What's the price for your okay, there we go. All right. So the last time we opened it up, it was $5,700 for lifetime membership. I do not know because we have not set the price point yet. What it will be the next time we open it up. But it will be in that range. It's not going to go up like a significant amount. There is the link for the Investor Lift webinar. Which PPL company do you find best to use? Well, we use 3, and I think all 3 of them have different strengths and the different time frames in which they've been better. I mean, I would say right now I'm probably seeing more success with property leads. I think their SEO leads that they're generating are just super strong in comparison to what Speed to Lead and LeadZolo can pump out. LeadZolo's leads are very unique with how heavy they are on YouTube ads, and I think there's a certain level of like just the conversation is a little bit different with a YouTube ad than say a Google pay-per-click. But overall, I mean, I guess if you said, hey, RJ, you got to pick one, I'm probably going to say property leads today. But I don't see any reason why, that would be like, I would be mad at myself for saying that because it's like, you should be a part of the Speed to Lead coupon club for $200 a month and be buying as many leads as possible for $29. Like, you can't beat that, right? So that's kind of how I feel about that. What if you can't comp the property on the phone with the seller? Why? Why can't you? I mean, I guess if like physically you can't because like you're not at a computer or whatever reason, then I mean you have to call it back. But there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to. You're probably going to suck at it at first, but the only way you get better at it is by reps. You got to put those reps in and get better at it. Glenn, Titanium Titan in the house. This man hates CrossFit. RJ, how do you handle a deal where the seller says that the roof was damaged because of a natural disaster, say hail, and they already reached out to their insurance company? How does it exactly work? So, funny you asked that because there's a couple different ways. One, some states still allow an assignment of benefits. So say the insurance company were to come out and say, yep, roof was damaged, and we're going to pay $10,000 for that. It's going to come in 2 different checks. You're going to get your ACV check, and then you would get the recoverable depreciation once the work is done. Okay. Now, what can happen is an assignment of benefits where the seller says, I'm selling my property and I'm assigning my benefits to this insurance claim to the buyer. And so then that goes to the new owner. Some states have outlawed that because it was essentially insurance proceeds were being misappropriated. So you have to look into that. The other way is you could just postpone the closing, specifically with a hailstorm and an insurance company. Like that could be done pretty quickly. Like State Farm now has it where it's like they come out, they inspect the roof, the proceeds are in like the account the next day. Roofing company should be able to come out and roof it within a week, and then the recoverable depreciation is released and it's over. So it doesn't have to be a lengthy process, but that is the assignment of benefits is one of the ways to overcome that. Okay. How do you go about dealing with tenants when virtually wholesaling? Well, you mean it's just part of the game. I mean, you're talking to the landlord, and you contract the deal, so it's obviously tenant occupied. So you're probably looking at it as a rental more often than not, right? Because you have to take into consideration what that rent rate is. You need pictures, right? Tenant probably doesn't want to be messed with. So tenant, can you take the pictures for me? Okay. They send you the pictures. You let the seller know, hey, we're still going to have to come in. We're going to have to do our walkthroughs. Let the tenants know. You might have to deal with the tenant yourself, schedule the showings, and just let them know, like, hey, we'll try to minimize it as much as possible, but we're still going to have to do our inspections. It's just part of the game. That was impressive, brother. Thank you. You're welcome. I told you guys this was a banger because I had already done it once. So I knew that I was gonna do better on this one. I hope it was better. It's been a while since I did the last one, so I hope you guys appreciated it. It sounds like the CEO did. You know what's hilarious is I had my 15 points written down, but that was it. Everything else, that's just, hey, we live this, baby. We live this. We're doing it all day, every day. So it's easy to talk about what you do all day, every day. How hard is it to find a national in cash buyer? No such thing exists, brother. You got to find an in buyer in every little location. Every person that has ever told me I buy nationwide, they like never buy a deal from me. It's like, yeah, okay. That's like the first thing that triggers me. That it's like, this is not going to work out. So yeah, I mean, you have to go out and you have to find your buyers in each individual location. Titanium University is worth every single dollar. Thank you, brother. Dude, if you guys don't know who Glenn is, you got to go follow him on Instagram, follow him on Facebook. Dude is a beast. I love his energy inside of our community. He shows up daily. Just a rock star. Love having him in our family, man. Do you think the titanium investments in the top right corner of the contract will be an issue for sellers because I'll have my company? Yeah, you delete that. That must have been like super old that you got that. But yeah, delete that. You definitely don't need that. You go into Google Docs and delete that. Should do recon before sending contract to title, or does it matter? You can. I would, yeah. I mean, if you're new, I would recommend, probably doing recon before, because like sometimes the title company will charge you for pulling title if you have to terminate. And so you don't want to rack up a couple of $200, $300 bills because, listen, we've had people tell us, yeah, there's nothing wrong with the house. And we showed up and there wasn't a house. So it's like, well, your house is missing, right? I mean, literally someone in Titanium University just had this where it was like they contracted it and then they went out there and to do recon and there was no house. It was gone. It had been demolished and they didn't know it. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. It's not necessarily what we do, but I have a pretty large risk tolerance for stuff like that. Thoughts on PPC? Like I said, it's a viable option. I'm not a PPC ad campaign manager. I don't want to be one. I don't plan on hiring someone to do that for me. I'm doing it through PPL. So that's what they are. They're those. I don't have to deal with the trash leads that come through PPC. I just buy the good leads. And so, yeah, I'm paying a little bit more, but I don't have to deal with anything on that. What is included in the Titanium University course? So Titanium University is threefold. One, you're going to get the course. It's like, okay, some video courses. It's like this. You can go get all that information off of YouTube. Okay. So that's not what you're buying. You're not buying a course. Okay. Two is access to the Facebook community. People like Glenn and everybody else go in there, ask any questions. We run like challenges and different things like that. We have comping challenges. We did a titanium hard challenge where 2 people won to get to spend an entire day with me and Cassie here at our headquarters. And then the other part is every single day we have implementation calls with every single person inside of the university. So like in 28 minutes, Cassie is going to be right behind that wall with our entire community, answering any questions that they have about what's going on with their business. She'll comp properties, underwrite properties. I do live seller call reviews with everyone inside of Titanium University. Just answer any questions. I mean, to me, that's the most sexual part about Titanium University is you get to hang out with us every single day, build that relationship, and really get that that mentorship that most people are looking for. Do you call easy REI closing after opening up title? Then they're going to communicate. No, they open up title for you. So because they will say this is the title company that we want to use in that location. What's the conversion ratio for the leads you buy? We're also in Tarrant County. Why is it $750 per lead? Because you're trying to buy a deal in Tarrant County. It's one of the most competitive markets in the United States. So like I don't do that. I don't go to property leads and say I want leads in Tarrant County. I say I want leads in the United States. And then from there, I'm spending, $55, $60 a lead, and different conversion rates on the different lead sources at different times. So like on average, we're somewhere in like the 1 out of 10 range. Okay. It's like the other day I went live with property leads. They gave me 30 leads. I got 3 signed contracts, and then we closed on 2 of those. So 30 times $60, what is that? $1,800. And I think we're going to make about $75,000 off of those 2 closed deals. Now, one of them was a banger deal, $60,000. Okay. But on average, that probably would have been closer to like $30,000. So we would have spent the $1,800 in leads to make $30,000. Okay. But again, we're not local to just Tarrant County. Yes, David Olds is the owner of Easy REI. He's awesome. Love that man. Do you put the title company on the contract at first, or do you just put to be determined by buyer to find in the state that works with wholesalers? Well, a lot of that at this point, we used to do TBD if we didn't know, but at this point in time, we've closed deals in all 50 states, so we already know. So we put the title company on there. If we don't know, we just put TBD. What type of list should I pull for motivated sellers when starting out with no money? Well, if you're starting out with no money, how are you going to skip trace that list? Because I've narrowed it down. Like, in order to get enough data by skip tracing, you could probably be like buying PPL leads for about the same amount. But I have multiple list pulling videos. Those are lengthy and very detailed. You can search those, AJ, how I pull lists on PropStream, how I pull lists on batch leads. Have you ever wholesaled in Buffalo? I have. What do you think about the market? Cheap, easy to acquire, a little bit harder to dispo, a little bit harder to underwrite. And it's an attorney state, so harder to get closed with all of the attorneys involved. But as far as New York goes, it's probably one of the better ones. There's a decent amount of investors there. It's not too bad. Could be better. Yeah, pretty much. What are the top cities that you recommend to wholesale in? Well, I think from there, my question would be, why are you only trying to pick a couple of cities? I think you're limiting yourself. I mean, if you're going to be in 2, 3 cities, why not be in more? Because you're trying to limit the amount of dispositions pressure you're putting on yourself. That could be a good reason to do that. If I really had to pick like top cities, I'm going to go to my top state, which is Texas. Okay. And I'm going to look at tertiary markets from the larger cities. So anything like Weatherford, Waxahachie, Denton, on the outskirts of Dallas-Fort Worth, Port Arthur, Beaumont, something like that. That's a tertiary market. Galveston to Houston, tertiary markets to San Antonio or Austin, or then you could just go to places like Lubbock, Amarillo, Midland, Odessa, places like that. And then also I love Florida, pretty much anywhere north of South Florida and then east of the Panhandle, just that core part, Jacksonville south to about Palm Beach, West Palm Beach. That's banger money in Florida. Why do you wait for photos after it's under contract? Because I do not want to add a barrier to getting the property under contract waiting on photos. Because if you talk to a seller and you say, I want photos before I send a contract, and then I call them, I'm going to get it under contract, and you're never going to stand a chance. You said, I didn't expect you to give us the full package after your 50-state video. That was a marathon. It was. How do you get motivated when you're feeling lazy? Eric, I think at some point in time, you need to sit down and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I doing real estate? What am I trying to accomplish by doing this? I love what I do. I love it. I love showing up at the office every single day. I love working with my team. I love talking to sellers and solving their problems. Even the negative side of this business, it outweighs all of the days of working for someone else. Getting my teeth kicked in at Pizza Hut, working outside, door knocking, selling roofs, being a general contractor, having subcontractors not show up on the job site, homeowners cuss me out. I mean, there's so many reasons why I do this, but at the end of the day, man, this past May, I just spent every single weekend in a different state with my son for hockey, giving him that opportunity, man, traveling the whole United States to get to see it. I got to go to a game at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. I got to go to this crazy animal farm in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I got to go to the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte, North Carolina. I got to experience South Carolina for the first time. I'll be honest with you. I never feel lazy. I've got too much that I want to get done, and I'm seeing my clock tick away. I got to get this shit done. When I'm done, man, I want my bucket empty. I got nothing left to give, baby. So I'm going to give it all while I'm here. And I never even think about being lazy. To be honest with you, it's just not an option. I got a couple of videos coming out over the next couple of days that might help you with that as well. Why don't you do your own PPC? Because I'm not a PPC manager. I'm not a PPC expert. Other people are, and they do it for me, and they do a really good job. If you have deals and you need help, what email do we send it to? jv@titanium.investments. That's jv@titanium.investments. There's no .com, nothing else. Do you find that the buyer typically keeps tenants in a rental property or wants them out once the property is sold? Depends on where you buy the property at, purchase price wise, and then also who you dispo it to, right? I mean, are you dispoing the deal to a flipper, or are you dispoing it to a landlord? It depends on their situation, what they want. But realistically, if you're buying it with tenants inside of it, you probably need to have underwritten it as a rental property and sold it as a rental property. So that, because specifically if those tenants have a lease, that lease is inherited by the new owner. It's not like they could just say, hey, you got to kick them out. Like, no, they inherit that lease. Easy REI closing works in all 50 states. Yes. What's your advice for a school teacher with not much expendable income? What's the best way to get leads to call every day when I get off of work? PPL. I mean, I close 1 in 10. So can you spend $1,000? $1,000 to make 15? You made that 15, turn it around, keep it going, baby. What was the website company you mentioned? Carrot. There's a link down below. Kevin says, thank you, RJ. I'm committed to starting virtual wholesaling. Congratulations. I've already booked a call with Easy REI, and I'm pretty sure they can answer all of my questions. Easy REI, they're awesome to work with. But remember, if you're getting started, the first step is lead generation. Without leads, you got nothing. Going nationwide with no buyers setup seems a bit scary. What do you recommend for newcomers who can't afford investor lift? You can do deal speed, right? It's a lot cheaper. And then just pick a market. I mean, the problem with picking a market is that your leads are going to be more expensive. So maybe pick a state. But regardless, you're still going to have to dispo. So one way or another, you're going to have to be able to do that. But if you go deep in a location, the downside to going deep is that you're going to spend more money for lead generation. What's a reasonable inspection period on a contract? 7 or 10 days? I mean, yeah, you can do that. I mean, to be honest with you, our inspection period runs the entire length of the contract. No one ever says anything. Not that we do that, but we at least want the ability to terminate if something were to come up for various reasons. There's too many reasons why we've had to terminate contracts to take that away if it's not an objection that a seller has. What I love about your style, like you said, you don't make it about you every deal, but more so solving sellers' problems. That's absolutely it, Kevin. And when that's the core focus of what you're trying to do, the results follow. What do you think of Brownsville, Texas? I think I don't know enough about Brownsville, Texas to have an opinion, but let me see where it is. Brownsville is, wow, that is way down there. We've done deals in McAllen and Edinburgh, West Laco. Yeah, I mean, we've got buyers. I mean, we've never done a deal in Brownsville, but we've done West Laco, McAllen, Edinburgh. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a hot spot, but we've done deals. Property is $300K. That's asking price. 5.2 state. Say they have a 3.2. How do you determine the amount to sell for? You got to comp it. You got to go comp it to other properties. Go back to when I talked about comping and underwriting. What is the neighborhood? What are the vast majority of properties selling for in the neighborhood? And then start with square footage. Then go to bed and bath. Then go to year built. Then go to lot size. Find something comparable to it. What did that sell for? What is your criteria for what you consider a rural area? I have no criteria to consider anything a rural area, and I don't care about it. I never think about it. Everybody else wants to think about that stuff. One of my things is I eliminate things that just don't matter to me. We have sold so many deals in rural areas that people would say I would never do a deal there. There's no way. And then we move it. And because of why? I just didn't think. At what point monthly revenue do you think it's time to hire a team? It's an interesting question because it also gets to a point of what's holding you back from having more monthly revenue, right? So I think obviously you've got to be able to pay your bills, right? And then you need to have the experience yourself to be able to delegate a task and train that person on how to do the task. I think you need to have the experience yourself so you can manage that person. But I think as quickly as you could possibly start, I mean, specifically in this industry, you can bring people on as commission only. That's the easiest way to start growing a team, right? Is, hey, I've done acquisitions and I've done this. And then I bring someone on commission only to do acquisitions as well. That's one of the quickest ways to start doing it. I wouldn't want to put a monthly revenue number on there because I think that can hold you back a lot. Where if you're like, okay, I've got to get to 50,000 or I got to get to 25,000 before I can start hiring someone. Well, what if you consistently are getting to 20,000, but you don't need that 20,000. But if you had hired someone, you could have easily been to 30, 40, 50,000 at that point, right? That's just how my brain functions. I've always been very quick to start growing the team and delegating stuff out. So I wouldn't want to hinder myself from that. Found you a week ago. Can't thank you enough. Man, that's awesome. I'd love to know how you found out about me. Love to know that. You should do a challenge closing with your students, mentees for 14 days, going live with different mentees every day. That's a great idea. Next week, I am going live every single day doing acquisitions, but that is a really good idea. It's something that we're going to have to think about. Just think about the regulations, guys. If that don't motivate you to do as many deals as you can, I don't know what will. Yeah, exactly. Oh, Nathan. Yeah, congrats to Edmonton Oilers. I am a huge Dallas Stars fan. Edmonton was the better team. I have to hand it to them. That was impressive. Cassie's booing, but they were the better team. Would you happen to have buyers in Batavia, New York? Well, maybe. I mean, I have buyers everywhere. I mean, the answer is yes, we do. But I could specifically look. Specifically in the city, 52 buyers. I'm sure we have a lot more in the county. So, yes, you want to send over details, JV at titanium.investments. What should I do with $1,000 to start? You need a comping software. You need lead gen. So I would probably say the cheapest thing would be either PropStream or Privy for $100. That gives you 30 days of comping. I'd probably go to Speed to Lead, sign up for the coupon club. That's $200. So you're $300. You got $700. And so you can buy leads now for $29 a piece. So what is that? 700 divided by 29. You're going to get 24 leads. Slim pickings. You're going to have to be good. You have to follow up. You're not going to have to hold your head down. You're going to find some more money too. Does it make sense to try and wholesale multi-million-dollar properties? I mean, we've done it. I mean, it's not, you got a limited buy pool. But I mean, if you got buyers and it's a wholesale deal, I mean, if you're getting it under, I mean, I would really pay attention to the holding costs. I'd really pay attention to days on market. I'd also pay attention if there's any investor activity in the area. But I wouldn't say like that's going to be like the new thing. unless like you're going to be in like Beverly Hills or LA or New York or Miami or something like that. What are your thoughts on Deal Machine? I don't use it. David is a great guy. It seems like there's a lot of people that have had success with it if you want to do driving for dollars, but it's just we're like further along in our journey than to do that. I think it's a very like bootstrap way of doing lead gen when I talked about that. Where would you go to buy leads? Hi Samuel, welcome to the show. Property leads, Speed Lead, or Lead Zolo. At what point are we going live together, and why did you block me? Strat Daddy. I didn't block you. You have an iPhone, so it doesn't work. And when are we going live together? Well, I'm live right now. Are you live right now? If so, maybe we're going live together right now. I'll go live with you later this week. Maybe Friday. I can hop on with you. Yes, we are Series Sports Heads here in Titanium office for sure. All right. Is it worth dispoing to buyers that use loans versus cash buyers? What title companies work with the assignment price and not just the purchase price? I don't know what you mean by that second part of the question. I have like ideas of what you meant by it, but then I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole. And then buyers that use hard money loans or like conventional loans. Because if it's like conventional, I mean, have we done it? Yes, not ideal. We really want hard money, private money, or cash only. How can I get one of those hats? We're about to open up a shop, Eric, where people can buy the different swag. It's just taking us a while because a lot of these like have been like individually made. We haven't really found like a company that can do it like regularly for us, but soon. Did Steve Train clear the air last night on Wholesale Hotline? I don't know. Why are you asking me? I don't watch other people's content. Or ask Steve, ask Jerry, ask Pace, ask Brent, ask Jamil. I have no idea. I believe RJ's brought this up. Yes. I dropped the link in there, Nick. We met at WealthCon in Vegas. Oilers surprise. I remember that. Yes, we were in the back. Yes, the defense significantly improved. When's the next good in-person event that you recommend? I don't have any besides. I mean, we're going to one in San Antonio tomorrow. We're speaking in San Antonio tomorrow at Wholesaling Syndicate. But outside of that, I don't know many events that are happening. Seems like we've kind of hit like a lull. Everybody like had something coming, but I don't know any. That Trangling, you had to ask. You had to ask about Trangling. All right. I've got something going on in June too. I do? What do I got going on in June? You saw, yeah, so the one tomorrow. The one tomorrow that we're going to in San Antonio. That's it. All right, guys. Well, we answered all the questions. We broke down wholesaling A to Z all in 94 minutes. 94 minutes. Two more. Had a bad run with title companies. Last two have been late on closing. How do you vet? Use a TC. I bet that's not on the title company. I bet it's on the transaction coordination. What do you think of MLS for someone starting out? I think it's going to be rough. I think it's going to be rough. I don't really coach it. It's coming for someone for the first 2 years. That's all they did was MLS. But that was a different time, 2015, 2016, right? We started mid 2014. So first 2.5 years, that's pretty much That's all the deals that we did were off the MLS. I think it's a different time. If you're acquiring deals off the MLS, just make sure you're adding value to your end buyers. RJ, do you have an email or anything where I can connect with your team to JV deals in Florida, Tampa? Yeah, JV at titanium.investments. Love all those areas. JV at titanium.investments. Last thing before we get out of here, you guys sign up for Thursday's webinar where I'm going to be doing live dispositions. I'm going to sell a deal. I don't even know what deal I'm selling yet. It's going to be crazy. Love to see you guys there. Appreciate all the support today. Make sure you like this video. Give me a thumbs up. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the podcast where we talk about my most top secret my most top secret weapon for success. That's what it was. I went so long I can't even think anymore. See you guys tomorrow.